Hi, I'm Mike Rowan. Welcome to Part 4 of Retro Printing for Fun and Profit, sharing new and old printers with new and old computers. In Part 3, we connected a DMP-130 to the Raspberry Pi Zero, and in Part 4, we're going to dig a little deeper into CUPS, the common Unix printing system.
We're going to spend a little time working with some of the features of CUPS. One of the first things we'll want to do is add one of our other network printers. So let me first pull up a command line and log into the Raspberry Pi. So from the command line I can do lp stat -p to get a list of my printers. So right now the only printer that the Raspberry Pi is aware of is the one we set up, the DMP-130, that's physically connected through the USB cable via the parallel port cable to our DMP-130. But on my network, I do have a Wi-Fi printer. I've got a Brother laser printer that I would like the Raspberry Pi to be able to print to. And ultimately, when we bring the color computer into this mix, I want to be able to print from the color computer to my laser printer. We need to add that into CUPS so that we can print to it from the Raspberry Pi. And any other printer on your network that you want the CoCo to print to, you'll need to add to your Raspberry Pi. We will go back to the CUPS admin window. So it's your Raspberry Pi's IP address. It's 168.1.63:631/admin. All right, so now this is the web interface that's running on the Raspberry Pi. All right, so we want to add our network printer into CUPS. So let's look at doing that. We will click Add a Printer. It'll give us this URL. We will click Add Printer. You can see it's spinning up here in the corner. All right. Now, discovered network printers come up. So it's already been discovered. It's in here twice because there are slight driver differences between which one we choose. I'm going to choose the first one. Hopefully that's the correct one. There are different types of printers you can connect here. IPP, HTTP, LPD, LPR is a popular one. But for now, this is the one that's discovered automatically. So we'll say Continue. It's already got the name filled in because that's coming from the printer. I can add a location. I'll say Mike's office. And then share this printer. Well, the Raspberry Pi really doesn't need to share the printer. I mean, it could, but it's already out on the network. So it's really not up to the Raspberry Pi to share the printer. So we'll say Continue. And it's spinning again in the top here. And it will ask for a model. Even though we see the model in here, it's an HL2270DW. I don't know that we have an exact match to that, but we can come close. 2250DN. That's about as close as I'm going to get based on the serial number, so I will select that. It should be, those families of printers tend to have the same options and languages, etc. So you basically can test it. I could probably go out on the web and find something from the manufacturer. If you have a printer that's in the same boat, you can actually go out and get the PPD file and install it into CUPS. Right here you've got Choose File, so if you move that to the Raspberry Pi, you could choose File and it would be added to this list. But this usually works. If you can find something in the same family or a close model number, then just test it and it will probably work. If there's some special features you have, like some sophisticated paper choices, paper trays, things like that, then you may want to go out to the manufacturer and get that information. But this is just a basic laser printer with a single paper tray. So I will say Add Printer. All right, and it's going to come up with the different choices. I'm going to change this. I really don't think it matters if you pick A4 or letter, but I will stick with letter. It's grayscale because it's a black and white printer. It's not a color printer. Normal precision, resolution automatic, two-sided printing. I want to turn that on. And the printing, you can say long edge or short edge. I'm going to say long edge. Shrink paper if necessary to fit borders. Shrink to print the whole page. Yes, I will say that. Nobody wants to have missing parts of their, they want it to fit on one page. So, and if your needs are different, you make different choices here, and you can play with it and come back and change it. All right, I'll set default options. They've been set successfully. So now the Raspberry Pi sees this printer. And if we go back to our command line, we could also do an lp stat -p and it is now listed as one of our printers. So, and this is the printer name we would need to use. Okay, now if we want to send a test print to that printer, we can click on Printers, select the printer, and then we can go to Maintenance, and in the drop-down you can say Print Test Page. So we'll print a test page, and if we scroll down we can see the job has been submitted. Okay, it's printing, and we should see the paper roll out of the laser printer. So it's definitely working. All right, now we're going to talk about print jobs a little bit and how you can manage them. I've taken the DMP-130 printer offline. The printer can't print right now. I'm going to do the ls-l/var, pipe that to LP command-D, and instead of the brother printer, we're going to say DMP-130. And I'll hit enter. Request ID is DMP-137. That probably means it's the 7th job that we've sent to it from the Raspberry Pi. And let me send something else. Do banner hello, LP-D, DMP-130. Okay, you can see that's request number 8. We'll send another print job to print out the listing of /var. All right, and that's DMP-139. So what's happening is the CUPS has a built-in spooler, and these print jobs, we don't have to wait for the print jobs. Once they're handed off to CUPS for processing, they sit in a queue, which is basically just space on a disk drive, or in our case, instead of a disk drive, we have a micro SD card, but the principle is the same. It sits in storage in a file system, as a file. So if I were to go over to the DMP-130 and put it online, it would begin printing these jobs. It'd begin spooling in the order they were submitted. But let's look in CUPS. I'll go back to our CUPS window here. Let's go back to Printers, and we will go to the DMP-130. And this will tell us that it's processing, it's accepting jobs, and that it's shared on the network. But if we look down, if we scroll down, we can see the jobs listed in print order being held. So here's the same job number we saw, DMP7, DMP-138, DMP-139. And that corresponds to what we sent here. Now, of course, because this is a shared printer, we could also have jobs from other computers sitting here. We can, if we wanted to, we could cancel the job. We could move the job, which would let us print it to another printer. We could move it to the laser printer, for example, instead of waiting for the DMP-130. Maybe it has some kind of problem, or we ran out of paper. Let's see. We had this job in here twice, so I'm going to cancel this job. So all I'd have to do is say cancel job. Job 9 has been canceled. It'll come back, and now we only have 2 jobs sitting there in the queue. So what I'm going to do now is I will put the printer online. We should see it begin to print. Okay, that's the first print job we sent, which was the directory of the /var output. And then it should resume with our next print job. There it goes, which was just the banner hello. All right, I've taken the DMP-130 offline again. So let's send a few prints again. We'll just repeat our commands. I'll send this to the DMP-130, and I'll send the banner hello to DMP-130. So I've got jobs 10 and 11 out there now. We'll click on DMP-130 again to refresh the web GUI. Okay, we can see our 2 jobs are sitting out there in the queue waiting to print on the DMP-130. So let's try moving a job. The banner job was DMP-130-11. So let's move that job. It's listed here. We're going to move the job. And the only other destination I have in this case is the brother laser printer. So I'll select that and I'll say move job. And now it appears on the brother printer, and CUPS automatically shifted us over to this to display this printer. You can hear it printing in the background. So that job completed. Let's review a few commands that we can issue on the Raspberry Pi command line to do things similar to what we were doing in the CUPS web GUI. If we want to look at what the printer state is, we can do an LP stat. Well, -P will show you a list of your printers. But if we want more information, like job information, we could do lpstat-o, which would show us any jobs that are sitting in the queue. In this case, there are none. If we could do an lpstat-t, whoops, -t, and that'll show us information about the printers as well as any jobs if they were sitting in the queue. So I still have the DMP-130 offline. So let's generate a few prints. All right, so I'll print that. So I've got 4 jobs now I just submitted. And it's job 15, 16, and 17. Clear my screen here. So if we do an lpstat-t, for example, we'll do that again. Now it will list what jobs are sitting there in the queue. All right, I can do an lpstat-o, and it will just show what's sitting out there in the queue without all the other extraneous information. So to remove a job, I can use the cancel command. So we can do a cancel. Let's remove job 16. We'll remove that one. So we would just simply do cancel DMP-130-16. Do an lpstat-o. 16 is gone. It's no longer in the queue. It's been removed. I can also cancel all of them at once. So I can do a cancel-a, and that will get rid of all of them. So if I do an lpstat-o, there's nothing in the print queue. Let's take a look at one more feature of cups. Let's say you were printing something that's in time, maybe the output of some commands that you piped to the printer. And when you got to the printer, you found out that your tractor feed paper had jammed up and the printer output is terrible. You can't use it. It's unusable. You can't read it. Well, if it's a recent print job, if you go to the printer in the CUPS web GUI, click on Show Completed Jobs. If it's a recent job, it still will be in the print queue, and you can simply click on Reprint Job. So we'll do that. In our case, it's just printing a banner of hello. But you could print that as many times as you needed to, as long as it's still relatively recent.
Well, this concludes Part 4. We successfully added a network printer to the Raspberry Pi Zero. In Part 5, we're going to shift our focus to getting a Tandy color computer connected to the Raspberry Pi. See you in Part 5, and thanks for watching.